Hello everybody, it's Bronwyn here. Sorry for making the camera shake there. I wanted to have a look at the new second edition of the Northern Animal Tarot. This is one of my favorite decks. It's in my top 5. And when I saw she had a new version, I jumped on it on Kickstarter. It's the only thing I've ever backed on Kickstarter, actually. So I'm just gonna take my original version out and just compare the two boxes. So the new one has this like gold embossing on it. And you've got the second edition sticker on the back. And the box is noticeably thicker. Like it's deeper because the cardstock is much thicker. So there was a lot of controversy around, well, if you could call it controversy, around the first edition cardstock being really thin, but I absolutely love my first edition. Even though was excited to get the second edition, I knew it was likely not going to replace this one in my use, because I use it multiple times a week. And I've shuffled the heck out of it, and the edges are still in great shape. I mean, I've edged it obviously, but there's no chipping, there's no fraying of the paper or anything like that. It's still in fantastic shape. So the new one, much thicker cardstock. I'm just gonna compare the actual, like the cards, not the guidebooks, because they're pretty much the same, and the bonus cards. I'm just gonna look at the tarot cards, like the size of the deck, because I don't put the other ones in for some reason. I just like to stick to the actual tarot cards. So right off the bat, this deck is much thicker. And yes, I've edged this one too. The cardstock is, I don't know if that'll give you a good idea. And the backs. Here's the original back. It's got that linen texture, and then this is the new back. Very cute. So the cardstock is sort of like a semi-gloss, I guess, and it is much thicker. And this is nothing bad. I'm not trying to, tear down anybody, because I think that the artwork is fantastic. And I do like the changes that were made as far as like backgrounds, and I'll flip through the majors and just sort of show you. But even though the cardstock is thicker, I do think that the first edition just had better quality overall. These are thick, but they feel very papery to me, almost like they don't have a core, like they're really, really light. And a lot of them have bent just from me shuffling them. The other thing is, while shuffling, and I shuffle a lot, and I'm a pretty rough shuffler, but the card edges, I don't know if you can see this, they have frayed and chipped quite a lot. Like you can, I'll just pull one out as an example and hopefully catch it on camera. They've just, the edge is just, it's soft now, and a lot of the paper has peeled back from the corners. And a lot of the cards have noticeable chipping on the front. But, it's not a deal breaker. The deck is beautiful and I love it. And it's a nice quiet deck to shuffle while I'm watching TV, so I don't drive anybody else crazy. But even you can see just where I've edged it. Like I wasn't going to edge it, but then they were starting to get really chipped, and I thought if I edge it, maybe it won't be so noticeable. But then it's just worn off. It's not so bad on the long sides. It's more the short sides. Here's an example of how it's peeled and chipped. It's not quite as bad on the top, but the bottom, like the paper actually peeled right off just from me shuffling. So now it's just that very soft paper edge. So in my opinion, the first edition did have better quality cardstock, even though it is thinner. But I do love the changes that show up being printed on this type of cardstock. Like the colors are really bright. It doesn't have quite the like vintage storybook feel that the other one does, which I absolutely love and why will never be replaced in my heart. But you can see like the colors are a lot brighter. They really pop off the page. Like even just comparing the two ladybugs, there's a huge difference. And then she's made a lot of edits that I really like the lemniscate here, it's yellow instead of white, so it stands out more. The blues in the High Priestess are much more saturated. And the Hierophant, this is the one I've kept in the deck. There are two, but I like this one, the more pagan-y looking one. And there are lots of videos out there that have like a full flip through of the deck, comparing them card by card, but I'm just gonna do the majors just for time's sake. Here's another one where unfortunately the top has gotten all torn off just from shuffling. Here you can, maybe that'll give some contrast. And it's really unfortunate because I really, really wanted to be able to use this deck for years. I've had it for about a month, so that gives you an idea of how the cardstock is holding up. We got some color in the flowers here in the new version. They're more pink. And it did say in the Kickstarter that these wouldn't be, they'd be too thick to riffle shuffle and bridge. I personally haven't had any trouble with that, at least at first. And then I noticed that, well, once the edges started to get really frayed at the tops and bottoms, it's a lot harder to get a good mix because they're not fanning, you know what I mean? Like I'll show you when I shuffle. So here we have a different animal in the world card. I love my possum, so, but the raven is, or the crow is gorgeous too. And the aces, I love the changes she made, adding the color into the aces. It really gives you that like fiery, passionate feeling. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through all of them. Like I said, maybe I'll just go through the aces because they're quite different. There's the difference in the Ace of Swords. And then let's see. Ace of Cups. Sky is a lot more blue. And let's just have a look at the Pentacles. Yeah, you got that pink, the pinks in the sky, and like the that sort of lush floral vegetation at the bottom, which makes it just more that feeling of like abundant earthiness. So yeah, I love the changes to the artwork. I'm just not a fan of the cardstock, I hate to say. And I know everybody else probably loves it and they probably don't have this problem because they don't shuffle like I do, like this. If it's this is a bit of a longer cardstock, so it's a bit of a reach for me to overhand it lengthwise, but if I do it widthwise, I can manage it, and that's how I've come to pretty much wreck the edges of this deck. I'll give it a riffle shuffle. I don't find that it's difficult to riffle. Like the cardstock's thick, but it bends. Like as you can see, that's with one hand, half the deck. Sorry, I've got to regather my cards here. I usually riffle shuffle sitting down on my lap. So again, the mix was a lot better when I first got the deck because the edges weren't so worn and you could get a good like grip on the ends of the cards. And now they're just kind of all soft and mushy and one big clump. So, and I have the bonus cards in here that I haven't put in the deck, and I edged them as well in a slightly different color. Actually, the first time I edged this deck, I did it in this color, but it wore off, so I redid it. So they're a slightly different color, but you can see, I hope, the unused cards what the tops look like versus the cards that have been shuffled a lot. They're just, you know, they're crisp. Versus the ones that have been shuffled. They're, I don't know what the word is, frayed. Anyway, fantastic deck. She's got a third version apparently that she's producing right now. It might be a pocket size or something. So that'll be interesting. Depending on what kind of cardstock she uses, I will probably pick it up unless it's the same. The only other deck I can think of that compares to this cardstock is the True Heart Intuitive Tarot. It's thicker than that, but it's that same just kind of paper, if that makes sense. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.